Hello everyone, and I'm Al Madright. Hopefully this thing is working because I have gone through a lot of heck trying to get everything to work tonight. But tonight I wanted to talk to you about a game I've been playing. It's not new and it's not fancy, and I couldn't record it because my computer melts like hot butter on a Sunday in 500-degree weather on a stove charged with mithril. You get my point. Okay, let's see here. File. I was actually forced to take pictures of this game using a secondary device. And no, not a camera, a secondary device. I had to take the pictures and then email them to myself in order to use them tonight. You can imagine how frustrating that was for someone like me who can't do a darn thing correctly. Just to introduce the game here. Yeah, I finally got around to playing The Forest. I've wanted to talk about this game forever and ever and ever. And recently, my brother-in-law got me a copy. Thanks, Elliot, in case you're watching. And I've been playing it, but unfortunately, no real way to, record it. So, it's a very nice looking game, very pretty and colorful and whatnot, except my CPU apparently has a bunch of problems trying to render the lighting correctly. Some areas look completely washed out, and some areas look too dark to see, and even in broad daylight. The little axe you see here is actually twirling, because that's what it does, it twirls. Now, those of you who probably don't already know, or for everybody that does know and is just screaming at me to get on with it because of this crap that I'm putting on YouTube, The Forest is a game where you survive a horrible, horrible plane crash, and you have to find this kid, and his name is Timmy. Exactly if he's related to you or not, we don't know, but you awaken this, the outer hull of what's left of the ship, before Timmy and all the other passengers get carted away. All of the other passengers are dead. Quite frankly, I don't know what happens to Timmy. But you crawl out and you do what you can to survive, including making shelter, catching food, all sorts of things like that. To aid you with this, you have your handy-dandy Scout Survival Guidebook. Yeah, I know, the pictures are really crappy. Just bear with me, at least I'm not describing this in the dark. As you can see, there's a tab for everything you would need. Food, shelter, water, recipes, building. You can free build in this game, by the way. All you've got to do is click that third building tab and go wild, and trust me, some of you will if you can get away with it. I have some more examples of this in here. That's a better shot. That's the building portion. Yeah, I know. I'm going as fast as I can. This is your status screen. As you can see, it shows you how much you weigh, what your health is, your strength, your tiredness, and your sanity. It also tells you if you're cold or not, and if you're sick, what you should do in order to treat that. You find medicine randomly on the ground, or you can mix up natural growing herbs and plants, which you can identify with said guidebook, in order to make medicine. Also, you can use animals and animal pelts in order to construct clothing, mainly armor, or using skins to make shoes and cloaks and that sort of thing. Of course, you're not going to be able to make a darn thing unless you can fight off the enemies. And the enemies are these guys. I showed you this particular page because this is the one that doesn't feature the female of the of the species. Quite frankly, everyone in this game is topless, including the women. And while you probably could get away with some, because each tribe, quote unquote, is a different kind of cannibal slash mutant. They don't make up their minds on that, by the way. You've got cannibals slash mutants and then monsters. The cannibals slash mutants are the ones you're going to run into a lot. The particular page I'm turned to here. Ugh. The particular page I'm turned to here is actually the elite section, which I haven't encountered that many of. Once you fight them in the field, your character will take down the details in the notebook, including potent ways of dealing with the enemy, saying, oh, this enemy is fast, I should use spears, or this enemy is slow, I can use axes, and various other notes for various other creatures. Of course, I'm not going to be showing you an actual enemy model, mostly because I can't fight and take pictures at the same time. In case you didn't know, I don't have that good of a skill with this sort of thing. So once you fight off your enemies, you're going to want to claim some land so that you can make a base. Well, there are a number of ways to do this. A lot of people put them into one or two categories. One, the fortress approach, which means you build a big honking thing out in the middle of nowhere and defend it with your life because this is your land and ain't nobody gonna take it from you. Or you can do like I do and park yourself on one of the outer islands. You see, the enemies can't swim, so you can just build a raft, head on out, and build on a smaller island. This is my shelter. This is actually a level 2 shelter, but who's keeping score? Everything's really neat and actually awesomely detailed in the game. Let me try and find it. This is my garden. You can see in the background that I have two different kinds of rafts, depending on my mood, of course. If I want to sneak around the island, I'll take the smaller one. If I feel like rolling the rims at 2 miles per hour, I take the bigger one. I have some dried meat on the drying rack, and I have several different kinds of plants in my garden planter right there. That wall basically does nothing but holds my trophies, and I have a few to speak of, but I don't think I have a good enough picture of those to actually show. You can plant the seeds from the wild herbs and berries and whatnot you find, and that will allow you to have a semi-renewable supply. Honestly, trying to grow food isn't the easiest thing to do. I happen to have a shot of one of my more decorative pieces. This is a shelf next to a lamp, and as you can see, I have random doohickeys on the shelf. And yes, that lamp is made from a human skull. Oh, crap. Oh well. Ah, here's my trophy wall just in time. As you can see, those hands are grasping onto a skull. That is a native's weapon. If you defeat one of the regular strength or up enemies, you can actually fish their weapon off of them after they're dead. The red thing in the corner is a spare axe that I happen to have for some strange reason. The native enemies, depending on how advanced and how powerful they are, they can drop more weapons, including flares, flashlights, junk like that there that you can use if you see so fit. This picture here is of my water garden. Now, what I mean by water garden, for those of you that can't see very well, because, well, this is the thing. The water garden is this stuff back here. This is a fire. But these are turtle shells that you have turned up, and it collects rainwater for you. This helps you drink, because you do need to eat, sleep, and drink constantly in order to stay alive, in case you didn't already know that. Oh no, we ain't doing that again. Now, of course, there are many options. If you want to get fancy with this, you can. Let's see, what else is there? Here on my big, large raft, yes, this is literally the view from the raft. This thing is huge, and what I do is I use mine for a mobile storage unit. It's actually not that mobile, so don't take me at my word for it, but it works if you try hard enough. I have some logs and some meat and another thing in view here. I also have several more containers with several more stuff on it. Yes, several more stuff. You heard me correctly. Oh, not again. Whatever, moving on. Now, a neat thing about this game is they actually have wildlife. Like this here turtle. Yes, this is a turtle and not a tortoise. The tortoise are on the beaches on the other side of the island. You can kill these things with just about one hit, and then when you skin them, you take off the shell and the meat, and that's basically how you survive. Unfortunately, the turtles and tortoises do not spawn until the second day at least. So, yeah, actually eating and drinking isn't going to be that easy at first. But that's okay, because you have berries and wild fruit and other random junk that's just lying around on the ground. For you to pick up and consume. Like you saw in this picture here, that red thing that's actually sitting on the shelf is a can of soda. And I actually have several things of food also lying on the shelf, but you can't tell from this angle, because basically all they do is put a picture of it there, not an actual object. Well, after you do all that, you're gonna gather up some stuff, and your inventory is gonna look like this. Now, unfortunately, this is not a case of me being a bad photographer. This is just the lighting. Like, seriously, somebody needs to get on this, because this is literally as much of the screen as anyone can see at any one point in time. As you can see, I have some cash because I'm rolling in hard here. I also have a Walkman, which they put in a while back. You can use that to regain your energy at any given point. It's like a stamina boost. You hear them inspirational jock jams and you go off tearing through the jungle screaming your head off. Now this thing here, that's a tiny walkie-talkie that you use as a communicator while in multiplayer. Of course, I don't have anyone to play with, so I'm not using that. These things back here in the background are actually air tanks for a rebreather that you can use to go diving for food if you can manage to find it. This thing here is a bow. You probably can't tell because of the way it's leaning against the bag. The one thing that ticks me off about the bow is you can make the bow from any 2 sticks and any cloth. But in order to make arrows, get this, you need 5 separate feathers. And then a stick. Okay, 5 feathers. That doesn't sound like a heck of a lot, but that depends on if you can catch a seagull. Because seagulls are the ones that drop feathers. There are 3-4 different kinds of birds. They've got a crow, they've got a red robin, a blue jay, and seagulls. But you need to hit the seagulls in order to actually get feathers from them. And their feathers go flying absolutely every freaking where. Most of the time, I have been lucky if I can recover more than 1 feather at a time. And it takes 5 feathers and 1 stick. This, of course, gives you 5 arrows that you can use at any point in time. Also, you can update with poison or a fire effect if you attach the proper doohickeys to it. Sadly, an archer I am not. So, I'm not very good with that. These 3 things right here are weapons. We have the big axe, the little axe, and the spear. Now, you're going to need these very, very badly because, well, the small axe is the first tool you get, and of course you're going to need that to build all the other tools. But it's not actually that powerful, so you'll need to use a bigger axe. As you can see, my axe kind of looks like a little tomahawk because it's got the little feather on it. It turns out that if you have tree sap, which you naturally get from, well, cutting down trees, of course, you can attach feathers that you get from birds to it, and this makes your weapon go faster. Exactly how that works, I don't know, but it makes your weapon go faster. And on top of that, you can attach the teeth from the native mutants or cannibals or whatever they are, and that will make it actually stronger and do more damage. Again, exactly how that works, I don't know. This particular axe in my inventory has 3 feathers and 14 teeth. 1 feather for every advanced scout I have had to kill, and a tooth for every other thing I've killed with it. Of course, the spear in the corner actually does have a feather on it as well, because the more advanced units that come from the stronger, healthier tribes are fast, and they will dodge out of the way of your axe. Which is very frustrating, especially when you get a number of them. Oh, by the way, did I mention that the female enemies are actually much stronger and hit you a lot harder and a lot more than their male counterparts? Because they do. And by the way, they do travel in pairs, and if you kill one from the pair, the other one will get ticked off at you and kill you hardcore. Trust me, I know this. I do actually happen to have a picture of my base at nighttime. Unfortunately, it's not very good. You can see that it is quite dark. It gets very, very freaking dark. And of course, your enemies can track you at night, and they will come after you, and they will kill you hard freaking core. Now, I do have lights around my camp. You can see one in the distance here. That is a light which is literally made from a skull, and it's kind of like a candle. Of course, you do have your prerequisite fires, because this is a survival game, and that's just what survival games do. Now, the second thing you're going to need after building your camp and your weapons is some protection. Now, protection comes in the form of base fires that you can set up, totems like the one I have on display here, or booby traps, which you can build from logs and bones and, other stuff like that there. Unfortunately, the approach I'm taking, which is get the heck off this rock and go to another one, means that I don't actually need that much static defense. Although I do have totems like this littered around where I need to land in order to secure resources. This is one of those totems. Unfortunately, the small totem is the only one that counts. I have never gotten a self-made totem to work correctly. But the small totem counts, and the small totem takes 3 arms, 3 legs, and 3 heads. So, yeah, you need to kill at least 3 guys in order to get the pieces for this. That's about the size of a small hunting party, which is after you because you ticked them off. So, yeah. Oh, and speaking of, this game is not for the squeamish because you will have to kill a lot and you will have to chop them up into tiny pieces. Of course, the natives, depending on what tribe they are and how strong they are, will have different totems of their own to mark their territory. You can kind of screw with them by destroying these totems and confusing the AI as to where to go. Now, this is actually outside of a cave. The entrance is here. But the totem marking this entrance is right here. Now, you probably still can't see it, but the eye sockets of the skull are here and here. And the jawline is about here. So, yeah, this is actually the totem for the weakest enemy in the game. And you will probably end up killing, like, all of these guys in a very short time. The more advanced tribes have totems similar to the kind you build, with multiple body parts and heads and whatnot. And the more powerful tribe of the island, and the one that's going to give you the most freaking trouble, has the dead passengers literally tied up with stuff stuffed in their mouths and stabbing them through the heart and whatnot. And those are the ones you need to watch out for. Coincidentally, those are also the totems you can't destroy. So the smaller tribes you can kind of mess with and screw up their pathing and whatnot by Xing out their totems. But the larger tribe is always going to be a looming threat no matter what you do. Areas like caves and whatnot hold extra stuff and extra mystery. There are several caves around the island. There are several smaller islands, a few ruins, a half-sunken ship, which I believe I have a picture of because that's just off the coast of where I settled. I guess I don't have one. I do have one of my secondary base I'm kind of playing with. Not much to look at, but the thing is, the main beach where I land is actually incredibly long, so the middle part is like where I land and I harvest my resources from. And this part over here is tucked off to the left by a couple of shark corpses. And speaking of which, yes, there are sharks in this game, and they will kill you freaking hardcore. In case you're wondering, yes, I have said that everything will kill you freaking hardcore, because it will. This tree in the background. This is another marker for the native tribes. There are trees like this dotted all over the island, and they are quote-unquote worship sites for the natives. You can't destroy these. But if you trick the natives well enough, you can actually establish a base around the tree and use it for cover. I've seen it done. It's ridiculous, and it's dangerous, but it does work. And I have wanted to talk about this game so long and play this game for so long, and unfortunately I can't get any footage of it because my computer melts. I can't take good pictures of it because I have to take the picture by stopping what I'm doing, getting out a secondary device, and then using that device to take the picture, focus it onto what I want it to take, and then I have to send the picture to myself as an email. There's also some random junk lying on the ground. Like I said, you can find all sorts of things. The stuff lying on the ground here. These little rocks you can use for ammo. You can just grab a rock, run up and chuck it at a seagull and nail it, and it will kill it. These are booze. You can drink them. It's not recommended, but you can drink them. They do have a negative effect on your character. These objects in the background here are suitcases, remainders of the travelers on your flight. You can pop them open and they give you some random junk. They do respawn every now and then. I have some trees that I chopped down, just trying to show how the game works. Sadly, that's the best I can do. Well, hopefully you understand that I don't really have much more things I can do in order to make this work, but hopefully I've shown you what kind of game this is and been able to talk about it just enough so that you might understand a few things about the game itself, and maybe, I don't know. Well, I'm afraid that's all I'm going to be talking about today, because even I find this ridiculous at this point. Have a nice day.